Good afternoon, everybody. If you could all please find your seats, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you for joining us.
So if everybody could please check their phones and smartwatches, make sure they're off, please, or silenced. Thank you.
In the words of King Solomon, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven. Time for dancing, a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying. Time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. The time of mourning is a complicated time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with the recitation of a psalm trying to link Marshall's life with the 3,000-year-old tradition of the people of Israel and the eternity of God.
מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לו אחסר, בינו דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי ישובב, נפשי ישובב, ינחני במגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צלמוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן, תערוך לפני שולחן, תערוך לפני שולחן, נגד צוררי. דשנת ושמן ראשי, דשנת ושמן ראשי, דשנת ושמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
This is what you get when you live a life of decency, commitment, love, and respect for others. This is what you get when you have eyes for others. When I came yesterday morning to the campus, on my first day in Beitora without Marshall in Beitora, I look at the Shalom Marshall Baltuch garden at the entrance. It looked completely different. It was dedicated by people that love him, and I thought, how many people have you helped Marshall to get into the place where they are now in their lives? I am one of them. As I stand here and I look around, I see a sea of faces, each one representing a life that Marshall Baltuch influenced or guided or supported. If you agree with me, the true measure of a person's life is not in the material possessions, but in the lives they have touched, the love they have given. By this measure, Marshall's life was immeasurably rich, profoundly impactful. I am one of those people who was fortunate enough to have known and to have been guided by his wisdom, kindness, and unwavering support. He had an incredible gift for making each of us feel seen, heard, and valued. I also know that being Marshall is a synonym of Betora, the same neighborhood with Rabbi Lifshitz, who he adored and respected immensely. Being Marshall, who he was here, you don't become a rabbi of Betora without his blessing. For those blessings, I am eternally thankful. There is the USY Marshall, there is the Hillel Marshall, the March of the Living Marshall, the United Synagogue Marshall, and the Friend Marshall. Susan Koslowski, which is, no, Leufnisch. Susan Koslowski, which is the friend, together with other friends, will dwell on that part of friendship. Rabbi Farber will do a better job than me in the other areas. I will share some brief experiences with Marshall. Actually, I will start with Marshall Baltuch, the fundraiser. We needed money to take the camp to the next level. We needed $250,000 to bring our youth camp to the next level. He contacted a potential donor. We agree on the strategy of the meeting. He will explain the project, and I will ask for the money. It will be my first big solicitation for Betora, and the first in English. It was 18 years ago, so imagine $250,000 13 years ago. So the night before, I rehearsed in front of the mirror, 250, because I'm Argentinian, so 1,000, no, I need to say 250,000. So he will explain the project, and I will do the solicitation. We arrive at the donor's apartment, a lady we both adored, and Marshall had a relationship forever. He starts explaining, and I am ready to do the pitch. 250. As I am ready to speak, he's writing something on a piece of paper and show it to me. What did he write? Ask 360. I look at her, and I said, we will appreciate if you can help us with $360,000. Silence. To my astonishment, and immense relief, the donor's face lit up with a warm smile, without hesitation, and she agreed, her eyes shining with genuine pleasure at the opportunity to help. It was a bold move, driven by the urgency of our cause and the belief in the generosity of the person in front of us. In that instant, a wave of gratitude and joy washed over me. It felt as though a weight had been lifted from my shoulders, replaced by a profound sense of connection and shared purpose. Listen, people study for a master's in fundraising and certificates in fundraising. I got it all that day, 18 years ago, in William Island, from Marshall Baltuch, from watching him. He could do it because he loved the people and people loved him back. He confirmed what I knew and why I chose the rabbinate. It's all about the relationship, but real relationship, the ones Marshall knew how to build. One of the teachings of the Parsha of this week is that the Kohen, the priests, needed to light the menorah, the 7 lamps, every day. And it will be lit the entire day. But listen, the first thing they did in the morning was to clean the ashes from the previous day, from the sacrifices. According to the Jewish law, the halacha, every person was allowed to light the candles, but only the Kohanim, the priests, the leaders, were allowed to clean the ashes, the schmutz, the dirt from yesterday. This is exactly the kind of leadership Marshall executed. If you are a lay person here, you know he will give you the chance. You light the menorah. You get the credit. But he will clean the schmutz and the mistakes for you and for me. He will do that job that nobody wanted to do. He will be until too late in the night with that holy little book, writing names. And ich weiß nicht was, but he was writing and writing. And from that writing, look what happened. From that writing, look what we got. Marshall had the unique ability to see the potential in everyone and to nurture that potential with patience, guided, and unwavering support. During COVID, I delivered a sermon he liked very much. I know that because he mentioned that to me. The topic was the following. I mentioned that because of cybersecurity, more and more institutions, banks, and credit cards are asking people to change password very often. So I challenged the audience saying, if we need to change passwords so often, what if instead of using just a word, we use a phrase that can make us think? For example, a password can be, call your parents, be grateful, give money to a good cause. He looked very moved. He loved the idea. The next day, I changed my bank account password for the word Marshall. And Gisela knows that it's still that password. Till 1 p.m., which I will change it. I will add letters and numbers. Will still be Marshall. What is a password? In a spiritual context, password can be seen as a symbol of protection, access, trust, and confidentiality. I felt always protected by Marshall Baltuch. He gave me access to the DNA of Betorah. I trusted him, and I think he trusted me. And in our confidentiality, I know what brought him pain and what brought him naches. Rochel and Robin, you were his everything. I don't need to expand. You know that for him, Rachel, what you thought and what you felt was holy. And your kindness, Robin, professionalism, commitment to the same values he believed, gave him unlimited pride. And to conclude, I shared, like many here, thousands of minions with Marshall Baltuch. Since COVID, we have daily minions through Zoom, 8:30 a.m., 7 p.m. Almost every night at 6:59 p.m., you will receive a text from Marshall in our WhatsApp group, we are missing one. And then 3, 5, 6 people will jump. Since the day before yesterday, Betorah is missing no one, the one. The best one, the only one. On behalf of everyone here, in person and virtually, around the world, we say to you, Marshall, thank you for being our friend, mentor, and muse. Thank you for being a champion of our cause, for teaching us that we should always express your conviction and listen to what the other has to say. Thanks for teaching us that you meet people where they are and you invite them to grow. Thank you for being my friend, our leader, whose humility and commitment challenges us all.
Giant, legend, superstar, Marshall Baltuch. Husband, father, grandfather, cousin, uncle, brother-in-law, Marshall Baltuch. Executive director, president, community leader, mentor, Marshall Baltuch. Best friend, Marshall Baltuch. In a gathering of this size, here at Beth Torah Beni Rock campus, Marshall Baltuch's absence is palpable. It is inconceivable that Marshall is not here as he always was. Marshall was everywhere, at all times, at every occasion, at every event, and every venue. He rarely missed anything. His life was about giving, doing, giving back, mentoring, encouraging, guiding, and caring. He dedicated his life to everything outside himself: his family, his work, his synagogue, his community, Israel, and to his friends. As soon as I heard the words that Marshall was gone, I was numb, shocked, and still am. But now, I am deeply heartbroken. I was fortunate to work alongside Marshall for more than 45 years on projects at Hillel, Beth Torah, Friends of the March of the Living, for golf tournaments, fashion shows, journals, raffles, and so much more. I watched the executive director, the president, the community leader, the mentor, up close and firsthand. He was extraordinary. He was a giant, a legend, a superstar. He made me want to be involved, and you all know you never said no to Marshall. Best friend, Marshall Baltuch. I am blessed to have known a wonderful friendship with Marshall. We spoke all the time, and he always ended the conversation with, "Did you make plans with Rochelle?" He and Rochelle, along with Robin, are treasures in my life and our family. Endless holiday dinners, dates, and all of life's simchas and tragedies have been spent together. I love you, my dear friend. While there is a hole in my heart, my life is richer for having known you. Husband, father, grandfather, cousin, uncle, brother-in-law, Marshall loved his family and adored his grandchildren. Robin and our dearly departed Eliza, zichrono livracha, you are daughters he loved deeply and was so very proud of, the apples of his eyes. Rochelle, my sister from another mother. Words will never adequately explain how much in awe he was of everything you've accomplished and continue to do. I, Sid, and our family will be here for you both until the end of time, because we love you, and Marshall would expect nothing less. So, as we all say our goodbyes to Marshall in our own personal ways, promise yourselves you will do something extraordinary in his memory, in his name. Make him proud of each and every one of you, and may this giant, this legend, live on forever. Rest in peace, my best friend.
Robert Weissman so correctly said that so many of us are where we are now as Jews, as part of community, as part of synagogues, whatever it might be, because of Marshall. Is that right there? He was always there. He was there before I got here. I would come in for services. He was there. Then I'd double check with him if everything was set and ready to roll. Well, I'm included in that in spades because I met Marshall when I was 16 years old. He was my USY advisor. He was Laurie's USY advisor. And he was an advisor at the synagogue, Beth David, where Laurie and I met. It's because of USY that I pursued my career. It's because of USY that I married who I married. It's because of USY who I became. It's because of Marshall. Because he created that USY that was so powerful and so dynamic. And he drew. And many of you are here. There are people here from Beth David, from Emmanuel, from B'nai Raphael, from Beth Torah. You're here today and you know what I'm saying. We are, as Jews, as much because of Marshall as we are because of our parents or because of our grandparents, whoever it would be. But he created that atmosphere that allowed us to flourish. Then I worked for him. I went off to college, and he went to Metney, Metropolitan New York, regional director. And he helped me get a job in Riverdale as USY advisor. And then Beth Torah. As Rabbi Rushing said, you're a rabbi at Beth Torah if Marshall Baltuch thinks you should be a rabbi at Beth Torah. That's a simple fact. And so every aspect of my life, my youth, my deciding to go into Jewish professional life, my wife, my life here at Beth Torah since 1995, all directly connected to Marshall. So it's hard not to see him in that seat. I've never used the word resume in a eulogy. Never. I thought about it. I use it today because he is his resume. His resume is him. Two resumes. And Susan, you alluded to it. One resume is family, and the other resume is Jewish communal life. That's his two resumes. That's who he was. And in both areas, he's pretty much the same person. Devoted, dedicated, committed, encouraging, mentoring, in both areas. That's who he was. That's what he did. That's why I said the resume is who he was. His family. Rochelle, 53 years. It's a big number. 53 years. A partnership, an unbelievable partnership. You know, rabbis say that a good wife is a crown to her husband. As Rabbi Rosen said, we all said, he was so proud of you. He always talked about your accomplishments. And when you were off traveling, particularly if you're in Poland or whatever, he'd always tell us where Rochelle is. You know, Rochelle is here, Rochelle is there. Together as a team, maybe one of the most powerful teams we've ever seen in this community. When you put together what the two of you did, the number of people that you touched, particularly youth, it's unimaginable. The power of what you as a couple did for this Jewish community and for this synagogue in particular, but for Marshall Living, it's really a powerhouse, your partnership. He was a brother. Harris passed away. His brother-in-law, Gary, sister-in-law, Ronnie. And as an Abba, wow, proud as can be. Proud as can be of Aliza, Zichronah Livracha, and Robin. You know, there's that famous saying, do not boast of your children when you're little because you don't know what to be like when they grow up, right? Nobody adheres to that, but wow, was he proud of you when you grow up. Both such accomplished young ladies, so committed, so devoted. And what do you say? No one recovers from the loss of a child. You know, people that will ask, they always ask me, how long do you say Kaddish if you lose a sibling? We have technical answers. You know, Judaism has an answer for everything, right? That's 30 days. How long do you say Kaddish if it's a parent? Okay, it's 11 months, but it's 12. We have that. And then when they ask me, how long do you say Kaddish? How long do you mourn for a child? Rest of your life. There's no measure. The weight upon him, weight upon you, weight upon our whole community. And he devoted so much to even working harder and doing more because he was always thinking of her and how she did such mitzvot. And how you learned, Robin, you learned everything from him. We watch you and we're watching him. We've done weddings together and I'm just like, I'm with him and everything. I just go to you, you tell me where I have to be, what I have to do, what's going to happen next. I'm relaxed, I'm cool, I don't worry about it. It's like when I walk in, Marshall, what's happening today? He's got it. And I'm not great with remembering names, so you might see me at Shabbat morning, I walk down and I go over to Marshall. Almost all the time, I'm asking him I know that person. And he always knew. Because people made his life. His grandchildren, Zachary, Ariella, Avi, Joshua, Yakira, the little baby, lost, weighed on all of us, lost that potential. Nephews, nieces, he was an uncle. What an uncle. Ilana, Sue, Lindsay, Miguel, Samantha, Derek, Adam, Tatum, Darlene, Russell, great nieces, great nephews, and Penny the cousin. Wow, what a relationship. I heard so much always about Penny, her devotion to you, your love for her. Really two close people. And Phyllis. Now I can't mention friends. We talked about it. I can't mention friends because we don't have a few hours to sit here and mention friends, right? But I have to say one name, two names, Henny and Joe Golden. Everyone understands why. They were his next set of parents. He was what we call a Ben Bayit. He lived there every Shabbos for how long? So he could do his job here at Beth Torah with the youth group. His devotion to you, your devotion to him, we all saw it, and we were moved by it, impressed by it, and you taught us a lot. You taught us a lot by the relationship you and Joe developed in Marshall. And he spoke of you, the highest compliment, the highest praise. He adored you. So here's a prayer book. There's a prayer in here. It goes like this. V'chol mi she'oskim b'tzorchei tzibur u'vinyan Eretz Yisrael b'emunah. It means the following. All who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of the community and the land of Israel and the people of Israel, may God give them a great reward. This was written of him. The word devoted to the community, to the Jewish state, and to the people of Israel. May God give him a great reward. This was his life. This was the other resume of what he did in his life. He was part of the founding of college-age organization Atid, which built so many Jewish leaders. His career as a youth director then blossomed from there. Beth David, Emmanuel, B'nai Raphael, and then Beth Torah's first full-time youth director. He built, and that's when Lori and I were in the youth movement. He built the #1 youth group in this nation. During his tenure here, it was #1. There was no comparison. At one moment, Beth Torah had the president of International USY and the vice president of International USY. It was unheard of. They had over 300 kids in the program. Everyone stared and said, how could you possibly do this? They were starting to learn who Marshall Baltuch was because there was nothing impossible for him. He could do it. And because every kid understood, he loves me, he cares about me, he's working hard for me. And so they showed up, and they did, and they succeeded. And many of them are here today, and I know many of them are watching right now on Zoom. Beth Torah, synagogue life. He and Rochelle, involved in Beth Torah's synagogue life, became part of the board of governors of the Hillel Community Day School when it was new. Its first executive director in 1973. and directed its amazing rise, its meteoric rise, the Czech Community Hillel Day School, largest day school anywhere in Florida, one of the largest in the entire country, admired. Then he was called back to Beth Torah as executive director and director of development. 2012, one of the amazing events, I'll never forget it. Former U.S. wires over the decades from Beth Torah and other places honored Marshall for 50 years of service. But he wasn't done. He was never done. He's still not done. We have a lot of work to do in his place. He culminated his career with the 80th anniversary celebration of Beth Torah and campaign director of this sanctuary rededication project. He led the way in the fundraising, he and Rabbi Roisman. He retired in June 2022. We used to kid each other. You're retired as much as I'm retired, he would say, right? Sure, you're retired, Ed. Yeah, I know, Marshall, you're retired, exactly. Now, can you do this for me, please? All right? Well, he didn't actually retire, but he became a volunteer, and we benefited the last years from his wisdom and his treasure house of knowledge. Talmud says the following: woe to the community which has lost its leader. Woe to the community who has lost Marshall Baltuch. We are bereft. We are weaker because he's gone, but we're stronger because he was here, because he mentored so many. He did something for the community that eases the pain of the loss. He created so many future leaders. He trained so many U.S. wires to be leaders. U.S. wires built the conservative movement. They were the ones who were devoted to synagogue life and created synagogues all over the country and worked for and support synagogues all over the country. And he instilled it in all of us, every U.S. wire. You know, we rarely call people great in our tradition. Why do we say? Because L'cha Hashem HaGedula, God is great. How do you call a person great? God is great. But some people, the rabbis say, reach greatness. How does one become great? By associating with greatness, with great institutions, with great people and great causes. And that's what Marshall did. There was a picture up here. You, Rabbi Max and Marshall. Iconic. Excellent. I wish we could have got Mr. and Mrs. G in there, Dr. and Mrs. G in there, the Gittelsons. That team was unimaginable because it was a team. Because for Marshall, it was always team, team, team. And the kavod that he gave to Rabbi Max, and then later gave to me, even though he was my advisor and he's giving me kavod as a rabbi. That says it all. That's how he built this community, because he was the perfect team player. You know the story, when you throw a pebble into a lake and the ripples start and they keep going and going and going beyond what you can see? That's what he did. The pebbles have gone way beyond what he could see, what we can see, but they keep on going and going. They never stop. The impact of him on this community, on our lives, is so profound that we cannot actually measure it. The rabbis say there are certain things that have measures and certain things that you can't measure. Well, this is something we can't measure. The impact that he had on this community, and most importantly, on our lives. It changed us. It changed who we were as Jews. It changed how we saw synagogue life, how we saw community life, how we related to Israel, how we saw Holocaust, how we lived and learned as Jews. The rabbis say that education is an unfinished symphony. Marshall, as a youth director, executive director, was a teacher. He was an educator, not of text. He didn't educate. He educated you how to do your job, how to live as a Jew, how to respect the people you're working with. He was the biggest believer in committees I ever saw. He always believed that people don't do committees now. We would talk about that. Why? Because he doesn't. How do you do something without a team? You need the team, then you have something. It's not me, it's the team. He was the par excellence when it came to committees and getting people involved with, and United Synagogue, everything. How do we honor him? How do we pay tribute to him? We continue his unfinished symphony. We've got to put more music to what he started. We've got to keep writing the music and continue the beautiful symphony that he started, worked at, and devoted his entire life to his family and to his community. One example, and then we'll bring it to a close. Rabbi Royson mentioned he never missed daily minyan. I know he wanted to say Kaddish. That was a personal reason, but that was not the main reason. This is a community, he said. And individuals in that community have a need. And one of the greatest needs in a person's life is that when they have a yurt site, they need to say Kaddish. We all know that. It's a profound need. And he says, so therefore, we as a community must afford them the opportunity. Doesn't matter who they are. Remember that maybe you don't even know their face. Doesn't matter. They're part of our community. We must have a minyan. And so what did he do about it? He didn't just talk about it. He didn't just lecture about it. He did it. He did what he always did. He showed up. He showed up. You could actually, that could be his marker. He showed up, right? Being there, that's what it's all about, isn't that? Being there is 98% of everything. Because when you show up for people, oh God, they appreciate it so much. Thank you. You showed up for me. He didn't talk about it, he did it. He didn't preach about it, he did it. He became it. He taught the famous way, the 3 best ways to teach: by example, by example, by example. You know, the last few years, when there was a funeral in the congregation, he'd always call me the night before, can I get a ride with you? All right? Why? Because he wanted to make sure that someone with a history, past president of the synagogue, because not everybody could do that. He was retired, he was partially working for us. So he said, I'll take it upon myself. Again, he did it. He showed up. That's why he went. So someone would be there to show, you were part of our community, we're going to be there. So this is what I say to all of us. Let's follow his example by leading lives as examples. That is the way we're going to honor our teacher, our friend, our leader, our mentor, Marshal Baltuch, of blessed memory. And we all say, Amen. Please rise for the memorial service.
El male rachamim shochein bamromim hametzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים. נשמת פישל משה בן גדליה שלח לעולמו בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו ענה בעל הרחמים הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים נשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן.
Official Moshe Ben Gedalia. He loved his Hebrew name. Very proud when we called him to the Torah to announce it, because it was his identity, a Jewish name. I got a note from Rabbi Sam and Kiefer, Malka and Sam, and they said, please tell everybody that what I want to say about him is he was my chaver. He was my friend. And a chaver, the other word is chavurah. A friend creates friendship circles. That's a real friend. And a friend heals you when you're in pain and you need help. So he was our chaver, our friend who stood by us whenever we needed help and brought us together to accomplish incredible things. All these good deeds that he did for us, for the community. May the Kadosh Baruch Hu remember them, receive his soul, and we all say, Amen.
Thank you. May I ask the following people, when I call your name, to act as pallbearers. Casket is in the lobby, so we're going to need you to go out to the casket. Everybody else, please remain standing in your seat until the family and I pass by, and then you can follow. Sid Kozlovsky, Alan Mintz, Bob Billig, Ricky Golden, Gary Fluxgold, Michael Scheck, pallbearers, please go to the casket. Those of you that will be going to the cemetery, in the lobby are these placards hang from the mirror, high beams and flashers. Wait in the parking lot until we direct you. We will have escorts. If you are not going to the cemetery, you'll go right to your cars and exit as quickly as possible, safely but quickly. Make it much easier for those of us that are going. Shiva information is in the booklets you should have received on your way in. There are some in the lobby. And they'll be receiving Sunday through Thursday. They'll be minyan at 8:30 daily, evening up through Wednesday at 7:30. Today, family will be private. So please remain standing as the family passes. Then you can follow behind. Take placards and exit as quickly as possible if you're not going, please. Thanks.